Hello, this is Megan, and this is 1 minute and 43 seconds, a true Unsolved Mysteries podcast. You're listening to episode 11, and I'm here as always with my good friend Soheeb.
Hey, Megan.
He's so thrilled to be back.
I am. It's great to be back. I think, this is our 9th one together or something?
I told Soheeb at this point he should just join, but so far he's just a regular guest.
I'm bad at commitment.
Yeah, so we'll see where that takes us, but you can expect more episodes with him and me solo, because he doesn't want to do all the cases that I want to do. Okay, so today, Soheeb, I have a very interesting story for you, as you already know, because we actually just finished watching the Netflix documentary on Rey Rivera.
Well, it was more of the Unsolved Mysteries episode.
Yes, I was just about to correct myself. So the new Unsolved Mysteries reboot on Netflix covers Rey Rivera's case. And if you haven't heard of this one, it's very, very compelling, very interesting. It has been done quite a bit. It has been talked about, especially after the episode of Unsolved Mysteries has come out. But we're going to talk about it here because it's one of those crazy cases and we have a lot to discuss. So shall we just dive right in?
Let's get started.
Okay, great. So Rey Rivera was born in 1973 to Angel and Marie. He was 32 years old at the time he disappeared, and he was a finance writer for the Oxford Club, and he also was a video contractor. So Rey and his wife Allison actually relocated from Southern California to Baltimore.
Which is a step down.
I mean, when I heard that too, no offense. No, because what if I have listeners in Baltimore? I've actually always wanted to go to Baltimore. Something about it has always intrigued me.
Southern California is better than Baltimore.
I can't make a judgment fairly.
I can. I've been to both.
Okay, I've only been to Southern California. But anyway, so they relocated, and the reason they relocated is because Rey was going to work for his longtime friend named Porter Stansberry. And he was going to be a writer and videographer for him.
The name just screams serial killer. Porter Stansberry.
Well, I didn't say it. You said it.
I did.
Anyway, so I guess this guy, Porter Stansberry, and Rey had been friends for quite some time, since they were very young, 15, I think it was. And Rey was a writer, and he wasn't finding much work in Southern California. And let's be honest, it's expensive to live over there.
True that.
And when you're not getting the income, what are you going to do? So
move to Maryland.
Yeah, so Porter Stansberry, his longtime friend, offered him a job here at his investment company, Stansberry and Associates Investment Research, which was a subsidiary of Agora Publishing. So he moves with his wife and he starts working for his friend. Now, May 16th, 2006 is where this mystery begins. Rey is in his house, and Allison, his wife, has left for a business meeting earlier that morning. I think she was at she had to drive 3 hours to some business trip. And they had a colleague, one of Allison's colleagues, that was staying in their house. And she was in one room working, and she heard Rey receive a phone call. And at the end of this phone call, Rey exclaimed, "Oh!" or some kind of something that said he was a surprise.
Big surprising noise, yes.
Yes. So after that, he kind of rushed out of the house in a hurry. Now, he left a soda open on the counter. He left a bag of chips out. His Invisaligns were sitting there. So it really looks like whatever he was leaving for happened quickly, and he was in a rush. So Rey leaves, and his wife, meanwhile, Allison, is checking into her hotel, and she tries to call Rey, and he doesn't pick up. So that's kind of strange, but she doesn't panic. But as the night goes on, she becomes more and more concerned. So she talks to her colleague who's staying at their house, and she kind of fills in Allison about that he left in a rush, got a phone call, and she walks around the house to see if he had come back, and he had not come back. So the lights were on in his office and kind of throughout the house, but there was no sign of him. So Allison reluctantly, I guess, tries to go to sleep, and her colleague calls her the next morning around 5:30 in the morning and says Ray never came home. So this is really where Allison starts to freak out.
Now it becomes a missing persons thing because, in our day and age, if you don't hear from certain people after a day, you
Yeah, your husband would probably be one of them.
Yeah, that'd be one of them.
Especially if he's not home.
Yeah.
And, from watching the documentary, I mean, you never know what people are doing, but
Truth.
I got the impression that they were really in love, and he really loved her, and, I know crazier things have happened, but he doesn't seem like the type that would go
Home
go
videos
off
can lie. Let's just be honest. Home videos can lie.
Well,
they're usually of your happiest or craziest moments. So
fair.
But in reality, in all earnest, I would say that it didn't seem like there was some sort of extramarital thing or any issues going on. This is a legit missing persons case at this point.
Right. So this is May 16th, like I said, when he went missing. Basically, Allison rushes home from her business trip early. She's calling everyone. She calls Ray's mother and asks her if they had heard from Ray. Now, Ray's parents actually lived in Puerto Rico at the time. So
it's a long trip.
I can't imagine being his parents and getting that kind of call. That would be very alarming. But anyway, so Ray's brother, Ray's parents, and Allison's parents, everybody and friends, they all got together and they started searching. And they didn't really know where to start. So they knew that him and his car were missing. So they figured they'd drive around looking for the car. So a few days later, Allison's parents are driving around the city trying to find the car. And they're in the Mount Vernon neighborhood of Baltimore, which is where the Belvedere Hotel is. Now, the Belvedere Hotel is a pretty ritzy place, pretty well known. You've stayed there before, is that right?
I have. I stayed there with my family in 2002. It was a nice place. It was really old, but it was close to where my cousin lived, so it was convenient.
It strikes me as very elegant.
It is. It's one of those ritzy, doorman holding the door for you.
Restaurants and...
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Tons of... not tons. There's one restaurant at the bottom, and then there's just a whole bunch of... it looks like high class, but it hasn't been updated since, the 40s, so...
So old-timey, kind of.
Old-timey, yeah.
Old-timey vibe. Anyway, so Allison's parents are looking around for his car, and they find it when they are near the hotel. I think it was a street, I think it was St. Paul Street or something like that. They found his car in a parking lot. And they noticed the car had a ticket on it. And they talked to the parking attendant there. And the parking attendant said the car was probably left on the night that Ray disappeared because he had given the car a ticket the morning after because it wasn't supposed to be in that lot. So now they had some place to start, or they had a reference point. So, the media came and the cops came, and from there they thought, okay, we have an area to search, and so they did. They were searching and searching until, I believe it was May 24th. They decide to go on the roof of a parking structure just to look around, and they notice on one of the roofs, so it's not the roof, it's like a sub-roof.
You mean the top floor of the parking structure?
Yeah, no. So they go to the parking structure and they look over.
That would be the roof of that conference room. So it was an addition. This conference room was actually a building in between the parking structure and the Belvedere.
So so what they see in this, it's not on the roof of the hotel because they're on a parking structure, but
it's the roof to an extension.
Yeah, so they see
an annex.
Okay, yeah, they look over
or an alcove.
Thank you. Do you have any other names for it before I move on?
Try to think of one more, but I can't.
Okay, thanks. They look over and they see a hole, and they also see I believe was it his flip-flops, or there was a flip-flop?
There was a flip-flop on the roof.
Yeah, so that's when they notice this, and then they go talk to the hotel, and they have somebody let them in.
Yep.
And basically the I don't know if he was a security guy or what he was doing at the hotel. But anyway.
He was a concierge.
Concierge, yeah. So the concierge goes into this conference room where this hole is, and that's when they tragically discover Ray's decomposed body. And when they looked into the conference room, they saw the hole clearly in the ceiling. And so at first glance, it looked like this man came through the roof and the fall killed him and he was just dead. So they tell Allison and they tell Ray's brother about this, and obviously they're incredibly devastated. And that's where we are really with this case. And the theories are what makes are like the majority, the bulk of this case, because the circumstances behind it are so
weird.
Yeah, and
it hasn't been solved. I mean, right now it's just what did the coroner describe it as? Unknown causes.
So the medical examiner determined that the cause of death was undetermined. Did I just say determined that it was undetermined?
Yep. You should say that the medical examiner stated that the cause of death is undetermined.
Maybe you should narrate.
Nah,
be the host, I'll be the guest. Maybe we'll do that sometime.
No, we're good.
That'd be fun sometime. That you tell me the case.
The obnoxious one.
Oh, all right. Well, good job.
You're welcome.
5 stars.
Thanks.
Well, basically what we have so far is this man left his house in a rush. He got a phone call.
And then you find him dead.
Yeah. His car is found in this neighborhood in Baltimore. And he's found inside a major hotel dead. Seemingly having fallen through the roof.
Which actually seems like the realistic option, because if you think about the way where he was found, the way he was found, I think that. Are we ready for theories? Because I'm still going to.
Well, let me talk about.
Someone tossed him off the roof, not just pushed, literally grabbed him from the collar and the belt and just wedged him off.
I'll let you get there, but let me just first explain where this hole was in terms of the roof. Okay, so the top of the building, if he had jumped from the top of the building, so what I'm understanding is the hole was just far enough out where it was questionable.
45 feet from the ledge.
Thank you. 45 feet from the ledge. So investigators thought, if somebody jumps off the roof,
they don't go that far forward, they go down.
Thank you. Exactly. And so they even said with a running start, it would be a stretch.
Yeah, he'd have to get a serious running start and still push forward off of his jump. Mission Impossible style.
And let's not forget, he was in flip-flops. And you would forget that because I didn't tell it to you yet. But Ray was wearing flip-flops the night he was
that's why it mattered that they found one on top of the roof.
Yeah, never mind. But anyway, so he was wearing flip-flops. It was 45 feet from the ledge.
You can run in flip-flops, though.
You can, I guess, but again, it's kind of a stretch.
That's a stretch. Saying. I still think someone tossed him, not pushed, tossed him.
We'll get there.
Off the roof.
We'll get there.
And that's why he got hit the way he did.
We'll get there.
Okay.
So, another theory is that he jumped off of the 11th floor, which there was
closer,
a ledge.
But it's still, it's through a private residence, and it's half the distance. Because the roof, the way the Belvedere's designed, it's like a horseshoe shape, or a U-shape building. So the 11th floor kind of dips forward, so you can get to it. You can get to that part of the roof easier, and it would be closer to where this hole was found, but also tougher to get to. Well, it's all tough to get to. You got to get through locked doors and maze-style stairwells. This building is not designed for people to just go up and down staircases. It is designed like a maze.
Absolutely.
At least the inner workings of it. The rooms are easy to get to, but...
So if this man was to go up to the roof of his own accord, he, like you said, he would basically have to know where he's going. He would have to have access to one of these private residences if he was going to get anywhere near the 11th floor. And if he was going to get to the roof area, he would have to jump through a lot of hoops, including getting through a door that was most likely locked. Again, with the hotel. So investigators decided they would ask people around the hotel if they had seen Ray. They checked surveillance cameras in the hotel to see if he was in the hotel, and they found no footage of him.
But there were a bunch of broken cameras, including the one on the roof.
Well, it wasn't a bunch. I don't think it was a bunch, but yes, that's a very curious part to this story, is that the camera on the roof was actually not working, which
convenient.
Is so convenient and so infuriating, isn't it?
A little bit.
I don't want to know. I don't want to say that that's a coincidence, because, come on.
I mean, if it's a coincidence, it's the killer's best deal, right?
Yeah.
But then again, it could also be like that's how they tampered with it. Whoever took him up to the roof and, killed him, they decided to cut the cameras when necessary. So maybe there was an inside person for the security, and they were just shutting cameras down where necessary, so that you never see Ray, and then
we'll come back to
the roof.
There's a few more details we want to talk about before we get there, but yes.
All right.
So there was one other structure that people theorized maybe he jumped off of, and that was, I believe, the parking structure that the family was able to see the hole.
Short.
Exactly. So I think it was 20 feet from that parking structure to the hole where he was found.
Yeah, but the parking structure is only like 2 stories up from the
20 feet, right.
Yeah, but from the hole, not just like...
It's 20 both ways.
Yeah, right.
So
right.
It's 20 feet...
up and 20 feet forward.
Exactly.
So it's like, yeah...
He would have survived, most likely.
Well, I mean, what? 15 feet gives you a 50-50 shot of surviving with just broken...
15?
15 feet.
I could survive 15 feet.
No, you can't.
15 feet, that's like...
50-50.
That's like 3 of me. No, that's more... That's less than that.
That's jumping off a second-story building.
I could survive that.
Most people could. That's why it says 50-50.
No, whatever.
It's also about how you land.
Couple more details about Ray. His cell phone was found near the hole.
A lot of holes.
His... What else was found? His eyeglasses. His eyeglasses, nor his phone, had a scratch on them.
Yeah, nothing was damaged.
So the medical examiner determined that Ray himself was in pretty bad shape when he was found. Not only was he in this pretty late stage of decomposition, but he also was pretty, he had broken ribs, he had all sorts of abrasions.
He had a bunch of injuries that weren't all explained by falling through the roof.
And Allison talked to the medical examiner, who told her that one detail that was not consistent with a fall was the way that his shins were broken. So that's really all she said, and she wouldn't really elaborate, but that's a curious detail in the story. Before we get to the theories, I'm going to go ahead and read something that Allison found in Ray's house, or their house. So after Allison got home from the memorial service, she was kind of tearing their house apart, trying to look for any reason why Ray would have, either killed himself or, just in general, looking for clues. And she finds a letter taped to the back of his computer. And it's a folded up little piece of paper. The font is very small, but it's a typed note. And it's pretty wild, so I'm going to go ahead and read it.
It's all gibberish.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and read some of it, and I would love your
code. It's unbreakable.
I would love your feedback, so I'm going to go ahead and read a little of this, okay?
Go for it.
Brothers and sisters, right now around the world, volcanoes are erupting. What an awesome sight. Virtue and more non-separable, whom virtue unites will not separate. That was a well-played game. Congratulations to all who participated. I hope you enjoyed it. But it was time to wake up, so here I am. I'd like to welcome those who accepted our invitations for membership during the game. We/I couldn't have done it without you. I look on this endeavor to find the truth, but for its own sake, in accepting this quest for truth, I hope to awake myself with the help of others, into a man ready and worthy to receive it. Members of the council, please note that I will lend peacefully concentration to the traditional responsibilities. In light of these proceedings, and I will either sadly or gladly, the standard request of this council within the appropriate time. Again, well done to all who participated. I accept the council has invited all the players who gave their lives to this pursuit back, so they might join us. Hence, and there's some disputes on what exactly this says, but he mentions Tom, Don hitting Rayburn, Blackholder, Stanley Kubrick. Fare thee well, Bob Rosenberg. Before I continue with my instructions for the council and dates taken, the prize for my service, I'd like to allow Porter Stansberry to choose his prize. Now, Porter won't, and it gets hard to read again. It's kind of like they're guessing.
Just gibberish.
So, that's kind of the gist of the letter. It's very bizarre. And he goes on to name... so the reason that a lot of these words are hard to read is because there's some water damage and it's not like a perfectly intact document. But he goes on to mention a lot of different things, including...
He has a list of movies, a list of computer pieces, list of, the books at the end. None of it made sense.
He says, I'd like to briefly mention some movies, books, and music I found very inspired and compelling. I'd like to meet any of you who helped contribute to these works. And he goes on to list The Matrix 1, 2, and 3.
Which automatically means he's crazy because there's only one Matrix.
Is there? I thought there were more than
one. No, there
one.
are two, but the sequels are so bad we refuse to acknowledge their existence.
Oh, all right.
Kind of like there's only 3 Indiana Jones movies because there's another one that was just so bad that we should just refuse to acknowledge it.
Okay.
Yeah.
The Family Man, National Treasure, The Da Vinci Code, Eyes Wide Shut, Confessions on a Dance Floor, Demon Days, November Rain.
Oh yeah, no, this guy was clearly deranged. I mean,
Fight Club.
Star Wars 1 through 3, that's not the originals. Those are the prequels.
He also mentions The Sixth Sense, The Village,
Oh my God.
The Others, Signs, and he makes special note of M. Night Shyamalan.
Again,
Clearly he was a fan. So
clearly this is the writings of a crazy person. I don't know whose they are or what they are.
It could be, but Allison said...
Goddamn.
Allison did say, his wife did say that these were movies he liked, but she also didn't understand why he was mentioning them in this context.
I still can't get over the fact that he mentioned Star Wars 1 through 3 and not 4 through 6. Clearly the better trilogy.
Well, so Allison, confused by this note, of course...
We all are. It makes no sense.
She decided to Google the first line of it, which was, if you recall, whom virtue unites, death will not separate. And she found...
And that's a Freemason saying.
Exactly. It's apparently associated with the Freemasons, which is a secret society. So this gets even more crazy. And before we get to theories, let me talk about...
All right.
Let me just talk about Ray's friend, Porter Stansberry.
Go for it, because I think they're all part of the same cabal.
So Porter Stansberry is Ray's friend, if you recall, that Ray moved from Southern California to Baltimore to work for Porter and his company. Now, Porter did he own it?
Yeah, it was his financial company.
His financial company. So what Ray was doing was he was writing a newsletter, and it was basically tips on investing in certain stocks. And this finance wasn't something Ray was incredibly familiar with, but his friend really wanted him to do this, so he did it. What's really important in this case is the fact that Ray received that phone call that prompted him to leave the house, right?
Yep.
So they traced that phone call, and it turns out it came from Agora.
His friend's company.
And unfortunately, they could not trace the extension.
Because it came from a switchboard, which, dating us back to 2002, when switchboards were a thing.
Switchboards have been a thing, haven't they?
Yeah, but not anymore. Not for the most part.
I thought they were still a thing. Well, you got direct lines, but...
Now that they are still a thing. If you get a call from a company's phone, offices, yeah.
I used to call my mom at work, and I had to call through a switchboard, but now I just call her direct, which I know she loves.
I guess you're right.
She loves having me call her direct. That's super sketchy, right?
Well, no. It depends on what happened.
Well, yeah. But one more thing I want to mention before we go on to theories, and that's the fact that, Porter Stansberry, his friend, has been
non-compliant.
According to some sources, he's been kind of, non-compliant. He apparently he had a gag order.
His company put a gag order on the employees so they wouldn't talk to the cops without legal representation.
Which you could look at that and say that's a smart move because, you want to protect yourself legally.
Sure, but
I get that. He also did. We will mention that Porter put up a $1,000 reward when Ray was missing.
$1,000.
I'm just saying. I'm just adding to give him the benefit of the doubt here.
I mean, aren't there those people that say that innocent people have nothing to hide? Who are those guys again?
Well, Dr. Phil says if you have people who have nothing to hide nothing. That's why I wonder why my boyfriend won't let me track his location all the time.
Okay,
that's a whole nother. First of all, that's a whole nother mystery, guys.
First of all, that's not true.
Yes,
everyone has something to hide.
All right, whatever.
And you know what? Some people just don't want to be tracked. Maybe he's just not letting you see it. Maybe he doesn't have his location services on, so no one can see him.
Yeah. Okay? All right.
Because that's a thing. Otherwise, the NSA knows where you are at all times. Granted, they usually know where you are anyway, but sometimes you can get off the grid. And in Chicago, that just means driving 20 miles in any direction.
I will say one more thing about Porter Stansberry. He hasn't spoken publicly about the case.
And he refuses all interviews.
But he did release...
Can we go to theories?
If you let me finish this one thing, because then we can go to theories. We have to get all the facts out first.
We don't need to work with facts. This is America.
Okay, so he's basically pushing back on the Unsolved Mysteries segment. And he says, he's shocked and hurt by the implications, by the insinuations that are basically made by the show.
That he's involved, yes.
Correct, yeah. So... he says in an article with the Baltimore Sun, he says, this was from 2020, he says, quote, "The reason I've never commented about Ray's death publicly first and foremost is because I never thought there was any mystery about why or how he died." Which I think is crazy.
Bullshit, because everyone else thinks there's a mystery. His wife still thinks it's a mystery.
I mean... it's absolutely a mystery, because why, first of all, if he killed himself, why would a seemingly happy man, wanting to start a family, wasn't under the influence of drugs or alcohol?
We don't know that for a fact.
He was. They tested him. They gave him a drug test. That was probably when you were texting during the damn episode. They did a drug test on Ray, and it came back that he was not on any kind of mind-altering substance. So that was ruled out. And I mean, mental illness can come on, at any point. But his family and his wife, they don't believe that this was a suicide. And I'm going to say, I agree. I think things are way too sketchy for this to be a suicide. I mean, the guy got a phone call and rushed out of his house in a hurry. Something or somebody on the call has a sense of what happened to Ray. And people that commit suicide don't abruptly get up and leave in the middle of, working to a phone call and then just suddenly decide they're going to end their lives. I mean, if that happens, correct me if I'm wrong. But, yes, now we can get into theories. I think I covered most of all the details.
You did. Okay, so... Porter and Ray were part of a secret society, and Ray was kicked out, literally, by them throwing him off a roof.
Why would they kick him out?
He did something bad. He did something wrong. I don't know. I wasn't there.
I don't know anything about the Freemasons. So the
Freemasons are technically a group of...
Are we allowed to talk about them, or is it
I mean...
is it like Slender Man, where if you mention him, he'll come haunt you?
No, Slender Man's afraid of me, so we're good. No, the Freemasons are basically... it's a secret society from the Revolutionary times that's kind of survived all the way to now. George Washington's considered to be part of the Freemasons and stuff like that.
So what do they do?
I mean, just like every secret society, they're basically just a group of people who had ideas and wanted to change stuff. But, like, the Masons and the Freemasons and the Illuminati, they're all been given this aura of supreme secrecy and this mystical power bullshit. But in reality, it's just a group of people trying to, come up with ideas and change stuff. So, same thing now.
Okay, I need to go back a little here because I was wrong. I did forget a couple details. So, Ray's wife said there was something he was worried about in the few weeks prior to him going missing. Okay,
and the house was broken into twice.
No, it wasn't broken into. So don't jump the gun.
Yes, it was.
It wasn't broken into. The alarm went off
twice.
Okay, so here's what happened. So it was the Monday before Ray went missing. And it was about 1 o'clock in the morning, and the security alarm in their house went off, in Allison and Ray's house. Now, Allison says the alarm had never, ever gone off in the past. So, the alarm goes off about 1 in the morning, and apparently Ray flies down the stairs with a baseball bat, and she said the fear in his eyes was truly shocking because he had never shown that kind of fear before.
Somebody was after him.
And then the next night, so that same night, the cops come out and they say, oh, maybe a squirrel set it off because they couldn't find anything amiss. It happens again the next night at 1 in the morning. Same thing. The alarm goes off. And I'm sorry. So let me just say, the alarm going off at their house twice, one night after another, him seeming to be worried about something, the fact that there was no surveillance camera that was working on the roof, or that the camera was broken, and the fact that he left the house abruptly, all of this points to foul play for me. I don't believe for a second that he killed himself.
Oh, I don't believe at all that he killed himself, at all. Like,
some people do. Some people think he was paranoid, and that's like the letter that he wrote was kind of deranged. And
yeah, he was like the letter's deranged and everything, and you could see where that's coming together.
I wouldn't even call it deranged, honestly. I would call it odd.
No, I'd call it.
I don't think it's deranged because it's coherent. It's what it is it's just not. It's just bizarre, is what it is. But I wouldn't call it deranged.
Yeah, no, it was deranged. It was just batshit
It wasn't
crazy.
like I mean, I guess
it was absolutely ramblings. And it was absolutely just crazy BS on a piece of paper. But that's not the point. I'm still sticking to my theory where he was kicked out of whatever secret society he and Porter were in.
But why?
He did something wrong. I don't know why. I'm just saying that's what happened because the why at this point doesn't really matter. Because that's the best explanation for camera being out on the roof of a Belvedere, like off or through the roof of the conference room, like just all of it tracking back. It's makes the most sense that there was some organization that got pissed at him and killed him.
Do you think it had to be an organization or it could have been a person? So here's another thing is that this financial newsletter that Ray wrote for Porter, they theorized maybe, somebody lost a lot of money based on the tips that Ray put in this newsletter, and that was enough to set somebody off to be after him. But I agree. I mean, if this was a murder, it seems like there would have to be more than one person involved in it.
It's
right.
I mean, on the roof and everything, plus.
If he was thrown from the roof.
Yeah, he was thrown from the roof. We know that.
No, but we didn't talk about the helicopter. There's also a theory where
there was no helicopter.
There is a theory that he was dropped out of a helicopter.
Well, why a helicopter? Why not a spaceship?
Because that's ridiculous. Here you go again.
Helicopter's just as ridiculous.
Please explain to me how a helicopter...
Because a helicopter...
Helicopters land on the tops of buildings. And
not those buildings. The helicopters land on taller buildings.
Launch pad.
Helipad.
Oh, excuse me.
Launch pads are for spaceships going straight up.
The point is, why is it so hard to believe that a helicopter couldn't have flown over and dumped his body out? That would explain
2 reasons.
The odd positioning of the hole.
It doesn't explain the car. being
What
there.
car?
His car.
But yeah, I guess.
And the second part is,
I mean,
people would have heard it. Helicopters are not quiet.
they're not. They're not. You're right. Okay, that's a point. That's a point.
Not to mention, even helicopters have to file flight plans. They can't just get a helicopter and go.
You think somebody that's going to murder somebody gives a about
I
flight
think anybody
plans?
who's going to get shot down by the Coast Guard nearby, yeah, they are.
Coast Guards aren't going to go around.
Baltimore's
shooting
on
a
the ocean.
Helicopter.
Baltimore's on the ocean.
Helicopters ain't going to do anything.
Really, a helicopter's not going to do anything. So, an unregistered
Well, it's not
helicopter.
a 747, for God's sake.
An unregistered helicopter flying over Baltimore is not going to get shot down in 2002. Are you kidding me?
I don't. Rich people have helicopters?
Yes, they do. They have to file flight plans before they get anywhere.
Do they really? So I couldn't just get a helicopter and take off?
No, everything that goes in the air needs to file a flight plan with the FAA. Otherwise, we don't know what's in the air. That's why drones are taking such a long time to get out there. Amazon's already ready to have drone delivery service to everybody. The problem is the FAA is saying airspace is not yours just to do whatever the hell you want, and that's going to cost you billions.
Well, my point is, if they don't, you're right. I see the flaws in it, but at the same time, if they don't care about killing somebody, they're not going to care about a flight plan.
No, they're going to care about getting shot down. Because any unregistered aircraft is going to show up on radars.
Even helicopters?
Yes, even helicopters.
Am I ignorant here?
I don't know. For somebody who's
naive?
so into what's that thing called? MH370? Yeah.
What's that thing called? Yeah.
7
years. 7 years. 7 years.
God, I hope you cut all
MH370.
this out.
I'm not cutting this out because it's important. MH370 was episode 1. We're still going to do episode 2. I just haven't found out when. So he doesn't want to do it, which is fine. But MH370 has been missing for 7 years.
Yes, it has.
As of March 8th.
But do you remember how they were tracking with radar? And
that's a passenger aircraft that's flying over the ocean.
They track all aircrafts that are big enough to hold people. Small, like, toy drones and the drones that, like, people use for...
Are you going to track my paper airplane?
No, that stuff's not tracked. The small drones are not tracked. But helicopters and airplanes, those are tracked.
Okay, all that said, I do see the flaws with that theory, because you're right. I mean, I would think somebody would have to have noticed that.
You would have to see it, too. Like, it's not... Like,
yeah, because they're
not invisible.
You're right. You're right.
Okay.
Okay, let me say one more theory.
Go ahead.
What was not consistent with a fall was the way his shins were broken. But I'm wondering, and I've seen this theory online, I didn't come up with this myself. So what if Ray was on the parking structure? Now, if you remember, the parking structure was 20 feet high, higher than where the hole was, and 20 feet forward was where the hole is. So I'm wondering, what if he was hit by a car, and the car propelled him to fall through this hole? And what if it was the car hitting him that broke his shins, and then his other injuries came from him breaking through the wall?
Well, most of his injuries could also be explained by him getting hit by a car. Broken ribs.
I mean, but we have to account for the hole somehow. If his body didn't make the hole, then something made the hole.
Well, no, both. Like, he could have been hit by the car and thrown out and made that hole, because it wasn't a fully reinforced roof, right? It wasn't meant to be walked on, so with enough... But that's the other thing. Like, even being tossed 20 feet, you're not going to have enough momentum to break through the ceiling or the roof.
Well, if you're hit by a car, you probably do. A car going significantly fast, right?
Still, like, your body's going to take in... Like, we're mostly soft, right? So our body's going to take in a lot of that impact, and there's going to be some impact for your fall, but not that... I don't know if there's enough... Like, that I don't know if there's enough impact left to get you through the hole. Like, falling off that roof, you're going, like... 12 stories up, down, right? So that's 120 feet. You probably hit decent velocity to go through that roof.
But the issue from the roof is how far out it was.
Oh yeah, that's where the tossing comes in. Someone tossed him off that roof.
That's true. I mean, they also say, like, because of the size of the hole, they think he went through vertically. So they don't think he, like, crashed through on his back.
Yeah, most likely went feet first.
Yeah, exactly. So, I don't know. I mean, this is a real weird one. I don't want to incriminate his friend, because...
Oh, no, I'm cool with incriminating people.
I mean, we don't know. I'd love to hear his friend Porter do an interview or, explain himself. I'm not going to say that the fact that he hasn't spoken about it or the fact that he put a gag order or whatever, I'm not going to say that's automatically making him
suspicious.
Guilty. Yeah, but at the same time, you want to protect yourself legally. I get it. You were close to Ray. But I would like to hear him say something. And...
Well, he did. He said that he doesn't believe it.
Which is, that's what I have a problem with, I think.
Yeah.
And this quote was from 2020. He says, "The reason I've never commented about Ray's death publicly, first and foremost, is because I never thought there was any mystery about why or how he died." I mean, if you don't think there's a mystery, then tell us why you think he killed himself. Because nobody else can seem to wrap their minds around that.
Exactly. I think that's the biggest part. It's like...
Is that what he means when he says that?
Everything points to some sort of foul play. And
that's a huge mystery.
Yeah. I don't think he killed himself. That's for sure.
No, I agree. I don't think he killed himself. I'm not saying Porter's guilty, but I don't think Ray killed himself. See, so it says, the episode never accuses him of foul play, the Netflix episode.
Yeah.
But viewers clearly pointed to him.
There's an assumption in the Netflix episode that
it's an insinuation.
Thank you. It's insinuated that he's guilty.
And so Stansberry says it's completely untrue. I did everything I could to help. He said he also
talked to the cops.
He said he met with a detective in June of 2006, and then he says it's horrific. You can't imagine what it's like to tell people I had nothing to do with my friend's death.
Well, don't be so suspicious.
Yeah, I mean, everybody else in this case, including Ray's wife, Allison, has so many unanswered questions. I mean, what was said in that phone call? I mean, clearly...
Only she had bugged her husband's phones.
But, no, that's what I'm saying. There's so many questions here. It's like... It's just truly bizarre. And I would recommend everybody go watch the Netflix episode on Unsolved Mysteries. I believe it's called, what was it, Mystery on the Rooftop?
Yeah, Mystery of the Rooftop or something.
Yeah, it's a very, very compelling story. And do you have anything else you want to add to this? I don't know. I feel like we covered most.
I think we covered most of it. I think I'm going to stick to my theory of he was kicked out of a secret society that Porter is a part of. And, in that society, to get kicked out, they literally kick you out. Like, off of a building.
Yeah, I mean...
That's all I can come up with, because otherwise nothing else really makes sense.
The only other thing I wonder is if he pissed somebody off that somebody that lost money because of him, or indirectly because, you know what I'm saying, like because of his newsletter, his financial reporting.
Then why go after him? He's just a writer. Go after the guy who owns the thing, which is Porter.
Well, there you go. Like, maybe somebody was after them, and maybe Porter thought Ray was to blame. I mean, I don't want to... I'm scared to blame somebody fully, because I want to give people the benefit of the doubt here. And they were friends for a very long time.
I don't care to give people the benefit of the doubt. I am not an officer of the law. I have no way of proving I am right or wrong. I'm just going by my...
With your gut.
Well, my questions and assumptions or whatever. And, yeah, they were part of a secret society. That's the best one I can come up with.
At the very least, Ray was interested in secret societies.
Yep.
I'll just close out by saying my condolences to the family, because you can really tell in the Netflix episode how broken up they are by this. And it's really heartbreaking to see his wife so upset by this. I hope she can find answers, and I hope she can find peace somehow with this. I truly can't imagine, how hard this must be for his family. I mean,
yeah,
just to not know, and to have people insisting it's suicide despite there being evidence. I mean, there's no real evidence.
There's no real evidence either way. And I think
there's more evidence that it was foul play than there was.
And I think that's the
suicide.
That's the bigger crux of all this, where without real information, without solid evidence to work on, like, it's always going to be just speculation. And it's been almost, 9 years?
No, it's 2006, so it's been more than 10 years. It's been 2006, 15 years.
15 years, thank you.
Math.
Yeah, wow. I'm bad at
2006, yeah.
So 15 years, it's cold. Like, the case is cold. There's going to be no new evidence. They've got what they got.
Unless somebody comes forward that knows who Rey was speaking to or
if they haven't come forward,
speaking to.
I mean, the only time I'd expect anybody to come forward now is a deathbed confession.
Yeah.
That's the only way we're going to get new information, and even that's going to be suspect because, deathbed confessions can rarely ever be corroborated unless they're absolute truths.
Yeah.
I think this is kind of where we're stuck, and I think that's going to be tough for the family, but like you said, I hope they make peace with it because this is what it is.
Rey did seem like a wonderful person just from what I've read about him. So it's a shame. And all I can say is I hope his family gets the answers that they deserve. I guess that's where we'll end it.
Sounds like a plan. Until next time, Megan.
All right. Thanks again, Soheeb, for being my trusty guest. Want to say goodbye or anything?
Oh, sure. Thanks for having me, Megan.
Okay. See you guys on the next episode. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye. This podcast has been approved by Skipper the Cat. Right, Skippy?